WJAY is heard at 1280 on the AM dial and 98.3 on the FM dial. Download WJAY's free gospel music app to your mobile device. You can Bluetooth the audio and listen anywhere to 1280 AM, 98.3 FM, WJAY.
So WJY, early Saturday morning gospel start time. I'm going to say good morning to Brother Michael Jenkins.
And good morning to you, Taylor, and good morning to everyone out there. It's a beautiful Saturday morning. I'm operating on about 50% ear power today, so if I sound a little crazy, well, I guess that wouldn't be anything out of the usual, right? Anyway, folks, welcome to the program today. The Region 7-2A is the big story this morning, and I wouldn't say that it was thrown into a tizzy. I wouldn't say it's been blown wide open. What it has gotten is very tight. And let's see. With the possibilities of several teams now having a shot at making the group that will move on to the state tournament, Lake City, a team that no one expected much from this year, but they're going to play an important part of what happens the rest of the season. They have one win, and I believe that win is against Mullins. They're 1-6, as I said in the conference. Marion, another team who right now has possibilities. They have a chance of doing some things as well, given their recent success after an early season quagmire, you might say, that they found themselves in. But they've won multiple games in a row now, and they lost until they lost to Atlantic Collegiate last Tuesday night. Manning Monarchs, a team that we got to see last night in Mullins, a team that was said to be without its star player. I don't know this to be a fact, but they said that the young man got in some trouble. I'm not going to say what, because it may not be true. But at any rate, Manning is looking good right now, and they are probably first on the list of teams who still have legitimate region championship aspirations. They have 2 wins over Mullins. That's big. And right now, they are a contender. But I will say one thing about this region, and I thought about this last night, and the best way I can describe where the region is right now. And I would have to say, looking up and down this conference standings, there are landmines everywhere. What do I mean by landmines? That means that you can be tripped up at any time in these next couple of weeks here. Let's see. Okay. Let me take a quick look at. Okay. I know I keep saying okay, and I keep doing nothing. But at some point, I will be doing something. Big game last night in Mullins. I would think that it was as close to a must-win last night for both teams as there could be. Coming in, I thought Mullins would be able to overcome and get some revenge on the Manning Monarchs. But that didn't happen last night. Speaking of the landmines, okay, the region shapes up like this at this moment. Atlantic Collegiate is the top dog at 7-1 in the conference. They're 15-3 overall, and they're ranked number 1 in the state in Class 2A. Manning won last night, and they are at 5-2. So they're second in the conference, and they have an opportunity, to possibly win this. They're only really 1 game behind in the loss column. Mullins is now third at 5-3. They're 14-4 overall, and they are followed surprisingly by Lake City. And Lake City is at 4-4. 7-6 overall. I said they were. What did I say? They were 1-6 with that King Street. Anyway, Lake City is 4th in the conference as we speak, and Marion and Mullins both have those guys on their schedule the rest of the way. Lake City, as I said, beat Mullins. Marion right now follows Lake City at 3-3, 9-11 in the region. They played a really good game the other night against Atlantic Collegiate, but Atlantic Collegiate was just a little bit too much for them. But earlier in the season, Marion was blown out by these guys, but they weren't blown out the other night. So there's some more hope there for them. Kingstree is a team that I said was 1-6, and I believe that 1 win was against, against Mullins. Is that possible? Tell you what. Let's take a look at who Kingstree. Good morning, Miss Christine Johnson. How are you? Miss Christina Johnson Campbell. Carl Brantley. How you doing out there, buddy? Good morning. Welcome to the program. So Kingstree shapes up like this. They're at Marion on Wednesday of this week. Let's see, who did they play and who did they beat? Kingstree, formerly the Jaguars. Now there's something else, but it ain't the Jags. I really loved Kingstree's mascot, but they are Jags no more. Kingstree right now is 5-16 overall. As I said, they are 1-6 in the conference, but they're a threat too. Everybody's a threat right now. Oh, let's see, Kingstree, Marion. So Marion beat Kingstree back on the 13th of December, and oh, wait a minute, they didn't. Mullins blew them guys out. What am I talking about? Mullins beat them cats 67-28. So that's the way that looks right now. But looking down my list, see, I'm ruffling papers here, old school like that. Last night in Mullins, Manning Monarchs, along with their, how do I say this, enigmatic, irrepressible head coach, Reverend Sean Johnson. Britain's Neck's own Sean Johnson. Sean and I have history. Sean played for Britain's Neck back in the day. I wrote stories about him and his team. They got really good. Sean was legitimate. He was smart. He understood the game. It's really no surprise that he became a coach, because he played the game like that when he was a baller. And they had great teams down there too. And Sean was one of the main guys on that team in the backcourt. But Manning is a team that they said they lost their best player. They started sluggish. Mullins kind of did too, but you expected Mullins to pick it up, and they kind of did. Manning, for their part, even after the sluggish start, they got better all the way through the rest of the way and down the stretch. They had to shine in that game last night if they were going to get out of there with a victory. And they did shine. How did they shine? They made big free throws. They handled and exploited the pressure in the backcourt. They made shots. That's what turned into a big win for them last night, because I kept thinking down the stretch, these guys are going to crack. Mullins is going to get these boys tonight. But what they did was they kept matching Mullins basket for basket, defensive play to defensive play. Everything that Mullins did to try to ramp things up, Sean Johnson didn't allow it to happen. His timeouts were strategic last night to really get his team over the hump, because they had some shaky moments. But their guards played well, they rebounded, and they defended, especially down the stretch where Mullins had some opportunities. But they couldn't get over the hump. And that's what puts Manning right now in the position that they're in. Now, Mullins, they haven't had a 2-game losing streak all year. At least none that I know of. But last game, they fell short. Lake City beat Mullins on Tuesday night 57-51. That's a big win for Lake City and a huge loss for Mullins, because that marked their second loss of the conference schedule. And then last night, with the loss to Manning 60-54, 3 conference losses. For the rest of the way, Mullins is looking at East Clarendon, and that's going to be on the 4th. Kingstree, and that's going to be on the 7th. And then on the 8th, which I want to say is next Saturday night, Marion goes to Mullins for their rematch. And then they finish the season off against Atlantic Collegiate Academy, which those guys are really good. Marion had a shot at them, but some key errors down the stretch and in the second half kind of cost them an opportunity to be closer with the possibility of winning that game. Oops. Tater, what am I getting here? Okay. At any rate, those guys are a problem. The tricky part about this whole thing is, all right, cool. All right, man. The tricky part about Mullins' final schedule is it's definitely favorable. But when you got a rivalry game in there, really all bets are off. I remember Mark used to be really, really leery about Marion. He didn't care what they had on the team. He didn't care if they was loaded or terrible. He always stressed when it came to playing this game with Marion. Now, Mullins has handled Marion very easily in their first game, blew them out. But that doesn't have anything to do with the next game. And they could probably blow them out again, maybe. But when it's a rivalry game, you just don't know. You just don't know what you're going to be facing, what the mindset of that opponent is going to be the next go around. Well, we'll know next Saturday, because if there's any game that Mullins wants to win this year, it's going to be that one. Because if they don't win that one, the next game is going to be way tougher. So if I'm Mullins, I'm thinking I want to sweep right on through, beat East Clarendon, beat up Kingstree, beat Marion, and then let the chips fall where they may against Atlantic Collegiate Academy. Because as I said, they're the number 2 ranked team in the state right now. And they're number 1, actually. And they're going to be a tough task. Okay, scores. Let's see if I can get you some scores here, because I saw some very interesting ones last night. Score stream. Sean Brunson, how are you this morning, my friend? Miss Virginia Ellaby, hello. Marcus Johnson, good morning to all out there. Beautiful day to be alive, ain't it? As you can see, I got my hunting gear on. Only thing, deer season's over. And I don't have a gun. Pitiful. No gun and no deer. And only about 3/4 of a pack of deer meat sausage left in my freezer. That's not good. It doesn't look like I'm going to be able to get these scores for you. So let's move right on to the next one here. And that's going to be, see what the Storm Foxes got going on. Okay, Marion, this is not going to be easy for them. They got a bunch of road games to finish the season. Now, after they lost to Atlantic Collegiate on Tuesday night, next up is a home game on the 4th this Tuesday night against Lake City. It's not going to be an easy game. And I hope nobody's thinking that it's going to be. On the 5th, which is the day after, 2 games in a row, they're going to have to play against Kingstree. 2 days later, they're at Manning. 1 day later, they're in Mullins. On the 11th, they face East Clarendon on the road, and they finished the season off on the 13th against Lake City. So if you notice here, that's 4 straight road games to end the season. And of course, some of it has to do with weather and all that. But you're going to be playing, let's just see, 1, 2, 3. You're going to be playing 3 games basically in a very, very short turnaround. Marion right now is sitting at 9 and 11, but they've been surging because ever since the 27th of December, they've only lost 1 game, 2 games, 1 game. They lost 1 game. They lost ACA. Yeah. Only 1 loss there. So I guess, if you're in Marion, you are thinking that things are starting to come around. Every team goes through some bumps in the road during the season. Sometimes they go through it early. Sometimes they go through it late. I can't say which is the better time to go through this. If you're in Marion, people are thinking, hey, we had our rough spot and we've come out better on the other end. So maybe this is an upswing for us as we approach playoff. Mullins, who's not had any struggles this year, they hadn't had any 2-game losing streaks up until this week. And they're probably saying to themselves, ideally, well, we're glad we got this out of the way. If this is going to be the only swoon that we have headed to state, we'll take it. So it's just a matter of how you look at things. And in the end, though, it's just a matter of how things turn out. Because you don't know. At this point, anybody can beat you. And one game like Mullins had last night in a playoff situation, well, they're gone. You can say the exact same thing for Marion. It's hard right now. Everybody is clawing because the playoffs are looming. I had a very interesting week. I got out on Tuesday night to watch Marion play, and then I got to watch Jonakin versus Palmetto Bulldogs, middle school basketball on, I want to say, was that Monday night? That was Monday night. And the thing that was, I didn't see the boys play. I kind of had to leave just after they got started. But the girls' game was fun. It was physical. You got some talented kids out there, including Mr. Bubba Sanders' granddaughter, who y'all going to be hearing from. But it's middle school girls basketball. And therein lies the Pandora's box with them. You never know what you're going to get. It's as rough a form of basketball as you're ever going to see. David Crawford, morning, my friend. It's just funny. You're really never prepared for what you might see in a girls' middle school game, especially around here. But the other night, I seen something that I had seen before. And that is one team's player literally putting points on the board for the other team. Funny sequence. Okay, Mullins is down on Marion's end, And the big girl from Mullins, I don't know her name, but she's going to be good. They got some bigs on those teams, those middle school teams that are going to come to the forefront in the next couple of years or so. But what happened was the big girl from Mullins gets the rebound under Marion's basket, and she took a shot attempt at the basket. People are screaming, no, no. Luckily for her, the ball came out. They got the rebound. They go down to the other end on their offensive end, where the big girl from Marion gets the rebound, and she puts the ball up, and this time it does go in for Mullins. Tight game, double overtime. That could have been the winning basket for the other team. Turns out it wasn't. Marion was able to overcome and beat back a pretty good Palmetto Lady Bulldogs team. But the thing is it's so crazy when you see that happen. These kids haven't played a lot of basketball. By the time they get to middle school, I would have to say that they played less basketball than the boys, than their boy counterparts. Boys tend to play a little bit more, tend to get involved a little bit more, a little faster and quicker. And of course, they're boys, so they have some advantages there as well. But just thinking about middle school girls team, the best middle school girls team that these eyes have ever seen was the Palmetto Bulldogs with Buffy Graves and Markeisha Johnson, Tamika Goss, Selena Rich, that crowd. That team was not your typical girls middle school team. Just wasn't. Those girls were ready for varsity. I think Buffy was only in the 7th grade then. She eventually went to varsity as an 8th grader. But that was the most dominant team, middle school team that I'd ever seen. And I told people then, these girls will win state. Did they win state? Yes, they won state. Thursday, I went down to Creek Bridge to see Mr. Jaden Hemingway, not Caden Hemingway. Oh, I messed the name up. And he, I've always been cool with this little boy. I was cool with his brother back before him. But I was very impressed with what I seen him and Creek Ridge do last week. Herman is down there coaching them. But what he is a thinker on the floor. He's not trying to score the points. He's not trying to do everything. He's trying to lead the team from a center's position. Now, I just walked in the gym and just sat down the other night when some kid tried to blaze by him to get off a layup on a fast break. Caden wasn't having it. And he rejected that shot. And I think that play was as important as any toward getting Creek Bridge that big, the lead and the win, ultimately. Well, you know, the Super Bowl is coming up, right? And the Eagles are in it. And yes, I do like the Eagles. I want to qualify that by saying everyone knows that I'm not an Eagles fan per se. It's just that I like the Eagles because of certain things that they have done as an organization over the years, which kind of bonded me to them. Let me name a few. Randall Cunningham, Donovan McNabb, Michael Vick, and now Jalen Hurts. Philly has never had a problem putting black guys back there at quarterback. It just wasn't one of those teams. Said to your brotherly love, say, yo, brothers can play quarterback here. And that's one of the reasons that I have liked the Eagles. I do like their fans. It's a crazy crowd. You don't want to get into a bar fight with these guys. But they've held that mystique for me for years. Now, will they win the game against Kansas City? It's kind of hard to go against Kansas City because they always seem to find a way to win. And Andy Reid is the Eagles' former coach, and he's one of the best ever. Patrick Mahomes has set himself apart from all the other quarterbacks in the league because I think this is going to be his 4th Super Bowl. That's crazy. But I'm going to roll with the Eagles all the way. Go Big Birds. Last year you couldn't quite get it done. I think you will this year. Super Bowls. I've not always been a big fan of Super Bowls because usually the team that I'm rooting for or that was my team rarely ever gets there. Now, my real team, still in the back of my mind, is the New York Jets. That was my team from childhood. And around the time I first became a football fan. So, Jets won the Super Bowl in 1968-69. I was happy. I thought there was going to be plenty more of those Super Bowl celebrations. How many years ago was that? Over 50. Guess how many Super Bowls the Jets have been to since then? That would be 0. So my whole life, I'm rooting for a team that did beans. So I left. And I don't feel bad about it either. But I do want the Eagles to win next week. I'd like to see them get one. I'd like to see Hurts get one because Hurts was given up for dead by all of you out here who saw him benched in the Alabama National Championship game. But now here he is on the precipice of his 2nd trip to the Super Bowl. Go Jalen. Go Eagles. We'll talk more about this next week, folks. I'm out. Later.